Hi, welcome to Columns. Columns is the AI data storytelling tool to help you become a pro of your data. In this introduction video, I'm going to go through a data storytelling design process and showing you the basic layout of how to use columns, the query part and the design part. Let's take a look. First, after you sign into your workspace organized all your data stories, saved data stories here. Anytime you can just manage each data story by editing them, clone them into a new one, change the sharing settings to share with specific people, public, set a schedule so it keep in sync with your data source and get updated automatically. Now let's look at the creator. Anytime you want to create a new story, you either can edit, clone, or just create a new one completely from scratch. Choosing the dataset. A dataset most of the time is a live link, live connection to your data source. But if you're already connected, you can always select and search them from the list, drop-down list. A new dataset could be Google Spreadsheets, Notion database, REST API, uploaded CSV, or databases you're using. Let's look at the dataset I already connected. Let's choose this one. Once you connected the data, Columns backend will load the data and prepare it, be ready for you to explore your data. As you can see, it generated some recommendations for you already in different chart. Every chart is a query. You can also type your own questions to ask questions about your data. Hopefully, it will generate the query to answer your questions based on your data and samples. Or AI tool will also generate some interesting questions that you may find to be useful. For example, what is the average number of cases across all the countries? Select it. Generate the query and tell you the single number. This is the average number, like 4,000. How many cases does country with lowest or is 0? So yeah, just like I said, you can just exploring by questions about your data. Anytime you want to look at the samples itself, you can just jump into here, as well as you can see some field distributions just by clicking these icons. Now let's look at generated one, and just start designing it. As we click the button to design that specific query, the query will populate it. This is very, very important on columns. It's called metrics and keys. Unlike normal chart building, it has X and Y. Here, just trying to understand a little bit. Metrics is a value you want to see. Keys are the breakdown. Is basically how do you want to distribute the value into. For example, here we want to see total sum of the case across all the countries, right? You can update them just like by updating. Basically, you modify the query manually by yourself. You can select any metrics you want to see. For example, here I want to add a count. So you can see the count here, but because of the values difference is too big, so it doesn't really show the relative value. But anyways, anytime if you want to change the aggregation, you can just click the edit button for that specific metric. From sum to average, you can just choose. And you can definitely change the keys as well. Anytime you want to change, exploring different ways to represent it, you can change the chart. Right, this one I want to see displayed as a world map. I want to display as a line. So now you can see there's a wizard. This is like prepared for a lot of people who come in from a chart builder. It's basically you start with a chart rather than start with a query. But in this case, every chart will ask you what kind of metrics you want to see. Some of them are required, some of them are optional. Just a few of them just make. I'm not demoing here. You can explore it by yourself. So now this is about query, right? Query, anytime you want to continue to explore your data, you can always bring back the data console just by clicking this button. This is like popped up at the beginning every time. And you can also jump to any history query you have done in current session. So now let's look at the canvas itself. In columns, the canvas is completely flexible. It's not a single chart. In fact, chart is just one element of the canvas. As you can see, this is title. Everything is clickable and movable. And also, when you click it, it brings up the settings on the left side. As you can see, this title is basically an annotation. And you can change the content of it. And this is a legend. You want to move it to the middle. And it actually brings up the metric settings for you. So you can change, for example, like color, or you want like rename it. For the chart itself is also basically you can click similarly. You can click and bring up the settings. If I click the line, as you can see, this is line settings. I want to see area. Change a little bit the accent colors, and you can see this is like areas you can generate. Go back to line. Anytime you can also, it's based on the chart type you use, right? If you're using bar, you click bar, the settings will be dynamically changed. This is a shortcut about some outstanding settings we know for the current canvas. It doesn't include a lot of other elements we added to the canvas. For example, I mentioned annotations, other elements, right? So anytime you drop the new elements, the way how you starting them is basically click. You click, you can move them, or you can just change the setting of them. For example, this is widget. If I want to transpose them, basically just break down by each individual key, like countries here. It will just expand it. At this time, I can also choose specific keys as filter to display. So I want to display the first 4 keys. They have most of the trees here. These are all design tools we'll keep improving and maybe adding some more in the future. But you can just explore them just by click, select them, and drop any places you want. AI summary functions is basically help us to generate a title and the summaries. Once you have the title and summaries, you can continue to click similarly and editing them. For the arrow, you basically need to pay attention to these circles, because today that's the only way we move them. We're improving the usability. It makes sense to just like holding the whole thing to move. But anyways, so now this is the canvas. General canvas is the most important settings because it actually set up the whole general look and feel. I like the theme, which is a quick way to set up the background as well as a palette. So for example, if I jump to the second one, it changed the whole theme for me. And as you can see, palette is also changed. As you can see, I can explore in different ways to see which one is best. Anytime you want to change, you can always change it for yourself. Like say, I want to use in this palette, but with this background. You can do that as well. Like I said, chart is basically one element of the canvas. Even though in the future we're going to enable just in place, move around the resizing, but right now you got to find them from the general settings. General fonts, tooltip, the display, legend, whether we want to use in log scale to display its value, value format, right? Display 4 values. These are all settings you can find just by exploring the design tab. Lastly, let's talk about the sharing. Anytime you want to save the graph, the story into your workspace, just click save. But at the same time, if you want to share also, you can also click share. Share will save first, and then it brings up the sharing dialog for you. So you can just like share with specific people by email, or you can just make it completely public. By making it completely public, you have the chance to copy the embedded code or URL and embed them into your own website. By click the public link, basically you can just share the link with anybody since you already make it public. So let's save it. Lastly, before we exit the builder, you can see there's the export. Columns offer 4 types of export today. You can export the whole graph as PNG file, SVG file, or you are just interested in the data. Like you can export the results as a CSV or JSON format of the data. Just click download and you can get the data files you want. So now let's head into my workspace. I can see this is a newly saved because I already shared it. So you can see it's not private. This is private. Click them and you can just head into the presentation page, basically for this graph. As you can see, this is like interactive and completely embeddable. You can copy the embed code here as well. Some other functions, non-editable kind of functions are available, such as download. I want to stop here. I hope the whole instructions make sense and it's going to be helpful. The mission of Columns is really leverage auto design, data computing, and AI to really make it a great data storytelling tool. So you can present your data with anybody comfortably and confidently. Thank you.